off to the farmer's market where I will get all of my meat. For anybody that's trying to look for meat, trying to find a good place to go, like even if you're in Chicago, you know, somewhere that's like crazy landlocked and you know, it's really urban and all that, I'm gonna attach a link below to find a local farmer. I don't want that car to hit me. It's kind of a dope car though. I kind of like it. Okay, so it's Sunday. Lots of things being sold here. I am simply going in to find my local regenerative farmer. This place is called Suretail Creek Farm. The thing with a regenerative farm, why I like going to a regenerative farm, is that they're essentially going back to the basics with how they raise their cattle, how they raise their food, their animals. It's our food in general. So they use the grass, they use the sun, they use the land, and they allow it to replenish so that the soil is healthier, so that the things that the animals eat are healthier, but also the animals are actually living. They're not just locked in cages and cells. Way healthier because they're not pumped with a ton of antibiotics. So if you need a little bit more info on this, highly recommend watching this video. I had Will Harris on. He was an industrial farmer, now turned to be like head honcho in regenerative farming. Such an interesting conversation about the two differences there. Do you guys have ground beef still? Okay, can I get 3 of the specials, please? That would be great. And then, yeah. And eggs as well, please. I'll do 2 dozens, or 2 dozens, please. Thank you. In your hand. The goods are secured. So, I just bought 3 beef specials. Excuse me. What I will say to do, if you are looking for beef, especially if you have a family, if you're not trying to spend, you know, your entire bank account, like, I don't think that there's anything necessarily terrible about going to the grocery store and getting ground beef. Like, that's okay, right? But again, really important when you know the stuff that is done to those poor animals, and also the antibiotics that go into them to fatten them up, and how obese that they are, like how they never move. It just makes you realize like how probably not good it is to eat them, and then also how bad their quality of life is. You can buy regenerative meat in bulk, or just even a local farmer meat in bulk. It does not have to be grass finished. So there's grass-fed, grass-finished, grass-fed, grain-finished. You can do either one. You know, it's obviously going to depend on what you're sensitive to. But if you buy an entire cow, you can buy like a quarter cow, or you can buy a half cow. What you'll find is that you can get it for like $4 a pound because you're buying it in bulk. Okay, time to hit the gym. So it's like 3:45 here, and I just like haven't had food today. I haven't really been hungry. So that's kind of what happens the more you go into this lifestyle, is like you're not as hungry. So I think a lot of people have this misconception of like, man, this food is so expensive. And it's like, you know, sure, it can be if you're getting really good stuff, but also you just don't eat as much, genuinely. And you don't need as much food anyways. So we're gonna do some sprints. For anybody out there that's trying to lose a little bit of body fat, probably sprints are the best way to go because they don't stress you out. Your cortisol doesn't leap too high, and it doesn't make you hold on to fat, but it also gets your body going so you can burn fat throughout the day. This is Alexander. Yeah. Okay. I'm about 6 sprints down, and you know, it sucks, but you feel so much better. Here we go. Okay. It's a lot harder when you're holding a camera. It's time for the first meal of the day. Let's get it. We've got some bacon. I got these eggs this morning. It's time to have some eggs. I am freaking hungry. Bacon is controversial. Some people really like to have bacon. Other people don't because it's somewhat processed. What I always tell people is to get sugar-free bacon. Sugar-free bacon. You would be shocked at how much these other places put sugar in it. Eggs are a big thing. So eggs, you know, I have at least 4 eggs a day. Some people, you know, they have reactions to eggs. I think that's probably because of the things that the eggs are fed. That's why I always try to get free range eggs as best as I can. And if it says on the label humanely raised, that's even better. The things that they do to these animals, you guys, but also the hormones that they put in them. Like when you go to get chicken wings or something and the wing is like this big, that is a clear sign that there's some kind of hormone being pumped in there. So we're eating that. That will affect how you react to eggs. If you're having issues with eggs, maybe start there with like where you're buying your eggs. Again, best case scenario is to find a local farmer's market, but they have pretty good ones at the grocery store too. You just have to search. Okay, where a lot of people mess up is they use like Pam or something. You wanna use this bacon fat. Bacon fat to cook your eggs in. Use the bacon fat. So I cook the bacon first and then I cook the eggs in the bacon fat. That's gonna give you a lot more fat. We need animal fat. That's gonna make you feel full. Okay, so a couple things to note here. You see the color of the yolk? The color doesn't actually really matter that much. There's a whole bunch of people out there being like, oh, it's the yolk color that matters and that's gonna tell you the health of the chicken. No, not necessarily. It's kind of like when you eat, what is it called? I don't remember what that thing is called, but when you eat it and it turns your pee red, you know, that is the same thing that's going on with our chickens. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're healthier. The other thing to mention is that I'm using steel. Use steel. Like, get rid of non-stick pans, you guys. There is a whole thing going on with our metal toxicities out there because all of this stuff that we use is like very much engineered to make things easier. So like non-stick pans. But what's happening is when you scrape on the non-stick pans with things, those metals, that the material gets in our food. And then we're basically eating Teflon. And then that's why people are anxious and sad and have a lot of other health ailments. I know this to be a fact because my sisters actually struggled with this. It's never really affected me, at least to my knowledge, right? But be safe, have steel, use steel stuff. As I'm saying this, I already know it's coming. I'm using this shitty little spatula, it's plastic. So what is that classic saying? Don't do as I do as I say. I left my steel one on my rooftop and then it was taken. So I just have this backup guy today. But same thing goes for plastic. This is terrible. Get a steel one, or probably not wooden for a spatula, obviously, but like a steel one. And you know, don't do plastic. I know, this is not ideal. Okay, now I'm gonna salt everything. Be abundant with your salt. We've been told that salt's terrible for us. It's not necessarily true. Pan is, the oven stovetop is still on. See how much salt I'm using though? Now, if you're having a lot of salt with a lot of processed foods, different thing, but we need salt. Now that I'm talking about salt, let me just talk about something that we absolutely need, specifically those athletes out there. So I just got back from the gym. You know, I schwitzt a lot and I sweat out a ton of electrolytes. That's what happens when you train, but also when you're eating mostly protein, mostly fat. You obviously aren't eating really any carbs or hardly any. So electrolytes store in our body in water. So when we have more carbs, our body can store more water, which means our body can retain more electrolytes. So if you're an athlete out there, or if you're somebody else out there who is, let's say, transitioning to this lifestyle, carnivore, animal-based, you want to get these electrolytes. And I really specifically like the Salty brand. It looks like salt, but it's salty. And they're rebranding from Keto Chow. You guys have probably seen me talk about them before. You've seen Ken Berry talk about them. I personally use them. I don't show you guys anything or talk about anything that I don't personally use. I use them because they are a great product. There's not a lot of extra added stuff in there. It's very well-sourced products, potassium, magnesium, salt, and it gets you exactly what you need. It's a good price also. If you need a little bit more insight on like why electrolytes matter, I recommend watching this video because I just kind of break it all down in there. Okay, now let's eat. Okay, so as I'm eating this, I'm actually putting on more food. I'm putting on ground beef so that I can have a little bit of ground beef too, because this just isn't enough food for me today. So I'm doubling down. You can make burger patties, you can put eggs on top of them, you could wrap bacon around it, you know what I mean? I'm a little bit more basic with it, so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing a pound of ground beef. Okay, dinner number 2. As you can see, I'm clearly not skimping on the meals here. This is a huge mistake that people will make where they think they're eating too much because we've been told not to eat a lot of meat, particularly women. And so they don't get enough protein. And so what I'm saying is, if you don't get enough protein, your body's gonna continuously be hungry. It's not gonna be satisfied, and then you're gonna reach for those little treats and little things like processed foods. You don't wanna do that. So I'm having an entire pound of ground beef right now. I don't know if I'm gonna finish the whole thing, but it's there, you know, and I'm not by any means starving myself right now. As you saw, I did put some seasoning on this. I'm a coach in this lifestyle. I've been doing this for literal years. I know what I can tolerate and what I can't. If you are new to this lifestyle, or you're still battling autoimmune issues, things like that, avoid the seasonings just for a little while so you can know for sure if your body has a reaction to them or not. But otherwise, sure, add some seasonings, that's fine. Oh, I am full. That's about all I can eat. Definitely not the full pound, so yeah, feeling pretty full. But yeah, look, here's the thing. I think a lot of people are wanting to know exactly how many calories to take in, exactly how many grams of protein and grams of fat to take in. What I will recommend is everybody watch this video here if you are interested in learning more about calories and how that might work, or you could watch this video here that's more about losing fat and how much protein to take in. It explains a lot of that, you know, in both these videos here that I won't go in too long into this video, but ultimately what we are aiming to do is to eat intuitively. And you know, I came from an eating disorder. That's been my entire life. So talk about counting every single calorie. It never worked, right? I even did the macros thing. Like, yeah, it worked sort of, but I don't believe that any animal in our world is meant to just measure everything. And so the rule of thumb is when it stops tasting good is when you should stop eating. Some days you're gonna have a lot of calories, some days you're not gonna have as many, and that's okay. That's just how things like ebb and flow. Just allow that to be the case, and over time, you're going to break free from the addiction to processed food, to sugar, to, you know, a bunch of other like wheats and things that we don't necessarily need, and that will allow you to know exactly how much to eat and when to eat. Right, end of the day. It's about 7:30 now, and I'm getting some side time here outdoors just to be around nature. I'm gonna be on my computer probably for like at least 10 hours tomorrow, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are too. Grounding, it's a huge thing. It is huge for not only curbing your appetite, truly, but it rids your body of ailments over time. There's a frequency within the earth that humans are meant to be a part of. Sounds wooey, but it's actually been proven. So get outside and go spend some time, you know, like on the grass, just on the ground.